Okay, there we go. Apologies for that one, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SimSeniors. We had a little technical hiccup. My mic seemed to have disappeared into the shadow realm, but we are back and we are here tonight for the second round of the 11th season. We've got a lot to look forward to, of course. We had a pretty bombastic opening, had a pretty chaotic one at that at our previous round, but let's actually talk about that for a second. Let's talk about how things went down and, of course, what the drivers experienced. So last time out, it was in Spa, and today it is going to be none other than Mount Bathurst. Or Mount Panorama, aka Bathurst. You can tell that the mic hiccup has thrown my rhythm a little bit. But even so, it is going to be continuing the momentum of the almost chaotic opening to the season. So Spa, as you saw and might have experienced the last time out, saying go check that VOD if you haven't done so already. That was a pretty fun one. And that did result in quite the statement being set for a couple of drivers in particular. I mean, going over first to the gold class, Frederick Guillemard, defending champion of Season 10 and looking to set the early statement to local challenger David Lindblom. 47 points gained in that first round to the 40 points of Lindblom, so that early statement has certainly been set. Meanwhile, you've got a lot of the other cars, say the Wolfpack cars, a lot of them having changed for this season, changing chassis. Previously, all of the Wolfpack cars were running the Mustang in Season 10, but now they have diversified the team in more ways than one, as we'll, I'm sure, be reminded of as we see them tearing around the track. Looking over at the silver class, it's going to be Adam Ostrachaz, who is taking the top spot in his red and white BMW, alongside Chris Wilson and Pedro Serrano in second and third place. Curiously, and one thing important to note, we do have, of course, penalties that are administered based on on-track conduct, incidents, and stewarding that is held post-race. So a lot of drivers getting slapped with multiple penalties is often a death sentence in the early rounds, but you do still have a chance to pick it back up if you keep your nose clean and if you get yourself into the right spots ahead of time. It is possible at this stage of the competition to go negative points. And that may sound ridiculous on paper, but it goes to show the amount of trouble that you can sometimes get yourself in. For example, Radoslav Vishrek, previously a strong contender in previous seasons, currently sits with minus 32 points, as he didn't score last round, but he certainly scored in the eyes of the stewards. And he'll certainly have to be watching his back over the next few rounds if he wants to recover any chances of a championship fight. Meanwhile, going over to bronze and finish things up, it's Craig Niesbet who's leading alongside Rog Dismukes and Frank Tennant. So Niesbet with a really strong performance out there last time at Spa, and we'll see if he gets to keep up the momentum. He's got some stiff competition. Dismukes has been typically the car to watch around the bronze class. He's had some consistently good results. Same goes with Tennant, who had a royal rise from the very bottom of the grid and eventually placing himself up into third by the end, both making the most out of the chaos as well as having just some solid consistent driving all the way through. Of course, if you are, say, watching this, it's good to see you, good to see the friendly faces, and best of luck to all of the drivers and making quick work onto the track soon. We are about to jump in with qualifying, but let us know as well in that live chat who you are keeping your eye on as we get ourselves soon to the race course. Of course, taking a look at that overview and say the beautiful track that it is. Say elevation is the name of the game. Balance your car and do a dance with a dicey set of corners. No room for error with the amount of walls that are quickly going to converge on your car, whether that's heading out of McPhillamy Park into the S's downhill, or you're trying to get that perfect braking point for the chase in turn 21. This is a track that's going to test you to your very limit, and one that we're about to go on side with as the drivers are going out of the pits. If you're new here, one of the rules that we do have in place is a 20-minute qualifying session, and particularly that qualifying session is split into two 10-minute halves. First 10 minutes is going to be for the bronze and silver class racers, who, as you can see, led by Paul Murray, who's earliest out in his Pepsi Max McLaren. They are going to be first out, and they are going to have a chance to set a time And then that will be immediately followed at the 10 minutes mark by the gold class racers that are currently in the pits and the rest of the field. We have 46 cars joining us on the course today, so that is why we split it up into 2 distinct sessions. Also, we've done a couple of performance optimizations in the background, so hopefully the frame rate is a little bit smoother. Let us know if you notice anything different. There we go, here's the 2 McLarens making their way up, and will be shortly starting their laps. So this is the number 90 of Paul Murray, closely followed by the 720 car that is going to be piloted by none other than John McIntosh. And we'll see the both of them make their way through as they are officially starting their runs here. Looks like one of the Porsches is also going to be emerging from the pits fairly soonish, but all eyes remain on Murray. He's going to be cresting over right now, and so down the mountain straight into Quarry. This is where you start the ascent up the hill. Key points of overtakes on this course is going to be looking potentially into turn 2, into turn 21 of the chase, and occasionally drivers can get a little bit daring and try something before they go into the S's. Up through Griffin's Mount and through the parks now. Now the key thing with this circuit is you've got to be committed. You've got to let and trust in the car. Know your limits. Don't be afraid to lean on the car as it grips up. You see the road undulating underneath you, but a little bit earlier on the brakes here as you head down the hill on the S's. It's more about fighting gravity and momentum than it is about pushing forward at high speed. Cleanly done from Murray here, darting on the brakes as soon as he crests over in order to get that entry point for the dipper. Now out of Forest's elbow and into the big straight of the course. This is the Conrod Straight. This is the big run, and where a lot of drivers will consistently hit high speeds alongside other cars, fighting with the slipstream in order to get that perfect position. Hold the apex into, here it comes, turn 21. Over 280 kilometers an hour for the McLaren as he makes his way through those final couple of bends into Murray's corner now to finish and dust things off. What's our benchmark going to be for the McLaren? First across the line, first to set the line, and who's it going to go to eventually? We'll find out. It's a 202.5 from Murray, as a 0.4 or 4.0 is going to come from McIntosh, not too far behind. Ostrishars coming up to the line as well is going to be, of course, our leader in silver so far. 202.3 coming in from John Mitchell. So good showing from that Porsche there. What's the Beamer going to make? It's going to be a 2.7. So only third in qualifying thus far. And that's going to be dethroned by Derek Hall, who manages to get it into the 201s. Looking like we're going to see good times in the mid-01s and potentially lows, as the gold class drivers will no doubt be pushing that envelope into the 2-minute flats. Potentially even as aggressive as a 59 on the cards, but who's to tell? Prim Diekman is going to come up to the line now. Bottom of the order in bronze, so certainly got some work to do, especially considering the previous performances they've had in the pocket. 208.3 is the best they can muster. No doubt they're going to be going again. You can see that Ostrishars is actually on a purple right now. He's almost an entire second up compared to his previous runs. So that installation lap for the BMW, finding the confidence, that's going to be the name of the game here. And this is where we're going to see him give absolutely everything to this lap. I think, yeah, get it out early, and that way you've got a bit of a safety net. You can see he's flashing his safeties, almost as if trying to indicate to any cars around him, I'm on a hot lap, you better move out my way. 1.3 seconds on his delta right now, so he's looking fast and collected right now. Making his way down Conrad. Tiniest bit of slipstream may be afforded to that BMW. Making his way down through the chase here, so just after the bends when you want to start getting on the brakes, rolling onto that brake pedal. Make the most of that aero while you're at that high speed. Ostrachar's coming up to the line. Remember, it's a 201.9 to beat. What's it going to be from the Beamer? It's a 201.4. So, very impressive run here, and nicely done indeed. John McIntosh, meanwhile, is going to be, it's a 203.7, and that is going to put him in the lead of all the bronze entrants currently in this competition so far in qualifying. A couple of cars who have yet to set a time, crucially, that being Wayne Bowler, and I do believe Helge Olsen, along with Andy Trickett as well. But Trickett seems to be remaining in the pits. I'm not sure. Is he actually going to go for a time here? They're going to start from the back. Need to know what's going on in his mind on that one. Dismuquez coming up to the line. Is there going to be an improvement? It's mild, but it's not quite there. Best he can manage right now is a P7 in class, as he just comes across the start-finish. As more cars make their way through, time is of the essence, as Craig Niesbet manages to push himself up just a smidgen into 5th place. John Aid, no improvement here from the McLaren, so let's see what else the other drivers can muster. Randy Zimmer, hopefully getting a small but impactful improvement. Remember, he just needs about 0.4 of a second, and he can leapfrog all the way to P6. And he does do almost that. Gets himself up into P7. He's just going to pass by Iro Vasuri into 7th place. Beautiful stuff in the Ferrari right there. Is Helge Olsen hopefully getting a time on the boards with this one. Across to the line. Actually, I do believe there was that outlap, so my mistake there. This one's hopefully going to be the one for all the marbles, as Paul Murray is going to be starting up another lap now. Few more drivers who need to finish things up. Craig Morrison, apologies for everyone, by the way, if there are any liveries that are not currently showing. Our livery client is currently experiencing some issues, which we're trying to get to the bottom of, but it is a third-party issue, and we're hoping for a sync fix as quickly as possible. I know some drivers have been experiencing it as well, but that has unfortunately resulted in a couple of liveries not quite displaying as intended. Ostrachar's could be going for another run here, but he's going to have to get a wiggle on pretty sharpish. He's only got 60 seconds on the clock, so he knows that it's now or never. It is go time here, and this is the last chance he's realistically going to have. Meanwhile, Frank Tennant coming up to the line and looking like he could get quite the improvement. Currently stands at a 206.5 flat. Reinvigorated with a chance of major success coming out of Spa. And he's going to be able to push himself into P7 here. It looks like that's going to be his fill. He pulls off to the side and likely returning to the pit lane. There you go. That is him done. Niesbet, meanwhile, is going to push himself up into 3rd in class right now. Ostrachar's remains in first for the Silvers. Derek Hall is going to be in 2nd, and Pedro Serrano has gone into the pits in 3rd. So 3rd at best is where he's going to land. Last couple of cars are going to be coming through, but one thing we will see in that pit lane, and there you go, look at them. That is going to be the gold class cars, all inching forward, just chomping at the bit to get back on track. And there you go, 10 minutes has officially hit the timer. So it's going to be that mad dash to get on the track, to get yourself ready to go. And leading that gold class pack is Frederick Guillemard, just slightly ahead of Thomas Linatas. Two very notorious drivers for getting the jump on the rest of the field and being one of the first to set their times out there in qualifying. Ostrachar's just coming through now. He is on a purple, so this could be a potential 0.3 on the cards for the BMW. He just needs to bring it home. Let's see, all comes down to how he handles Murray's corner. It looks like he's handled it spectacularly. It's a 0.325 and solidifying his advantage and pole for the silver class right there. Meanwhile, John McIntosh is looking like the undisputed lead of the bronzes, as Sean Julius is going to be a whole 0.7 of a second behind, but for some reason seems to be emerging from the pit lane. Not sure what's exactly happening there, as he seems to be going out. Sure, we'll get an answer for that in due time. Ibrahim Digman, I believe, is just finishing a lap now, so he crossed the line at the last moments of the switchover, the changeover. And so this is his last time and chance to get an improvement on the boards. 208.3 is really not in a good spot. He's managed to get himself to credit a 205.337. That's going to put him a couple of places above the competition, but it's still not quite going to be there, especially considering where he is in the championship. He needs this. He needs this to go in his favour. Last couple of cars. So Randy Zimmer was another one to pass at the final edge of the timer. And with that, that's going to open the floodgates. Now Zimmer pulls into the inside. And now it's the turn of the gold class runners. Frederick Guillemard is going to be leading this pack, with Lenatus not too far behind, and then more cars are sure and soon to follow. 20 of our racers, or I say 18, I believe, considering the Triquet entry, who has not gone out for a time. So Triquet's going to be starting at the back of the field. Looks like Chris Bourne is experiencing some kind of... Actually, no, he's just trying to space himself out relative to the other cars. And it looks like Lindblom and co are going to do the same. My mistake there. Meanwhile, checking back in with our hot lappers right now. Guillemard and Lenatus both rocketing their way through the parks and cresting over the top. You can see the margins, the fine margins that they are running to. Really pushing right to the edge of this race surface. And barely kissing the walls, if that. You get any closer, you'd be able to feel the hairs on your arms brush against that Armco. Darting their way down through the dipper now. Use that camber and that decline to your advantage. Really power out of the corner there. Sets yourself up very nicely for the straight as you continue on the decline. Easily pass 250 kilometers per hour. And even further once you go over the second crest. It's 270. It's almost 280 here. Is he going to hit it? It's a 279, 283 before he jumps on those brakes. And carries plenty of speed through the chase and finally into Murray's. It's a real sweeper of a corner there, so you have to get your braking line and braking point near perfect to make this one count. And here's ones for all the lucky stars and lucky charms. It's a 2-minute .695 from Guillemard as more cars are going to come through. Björklund in second with a 201.025. Lenatus only mustering a 1.5 in the end as Ascari Herme is going to steal that podium spot and looking very sharp in almost that camo inspired. They almost bolted together. Porsche 992 GT3 is Patrick Larson in the 230 Ferrari, comes up to the line, is going to manage a P10, which is going to be P6 overall in division. More cars going to be making their way through in due course. Is Chris Bourne. As last we saw him, he was braking at this point to get himself a bit of space afforded to him. Has that space paid off? Let's see. It's P9, also known as P8 in gold. So I would say, at least for now, it has, or at least he's given him a bit of security. But here comes the challenger. Here comes Lindblom. And if it's anything to go by with the way that those two championship protagonists fought in the past, this is Lindblom throwing down the gauntlet. He's had quite the tumultuous first race and had some difficult performances towards the end of Season 10. So Lindblom is really putting it all on the table here. This is his track. He wants Guillemard to know it. And a 2-minute .137 is certainly going to send that message. Although not to be outdone, Maximilian Grosges is going to be in second position with a 2-minute .3 as Wolfslander crosses the line with a 2-minute .8. We're going to see Frederick Guillemard go across once again. Now, he's going to need about half a second just to get even with Lindblom right now. I don't know if he's got that, considering Lindblom is running purple, so there's potentially even more on the table for the NSX. It's a .297 for the Mustang, so he's going to get a sizable improvement, but it isn't enough quite yet to get that run locked in as a real challenger to Lindblom at the front. 2-minute .847 coming from Herme. That's going to put him just 12 milliseconds behind Wolfslander, but 3 ahead of Björklund. So the margins are ever so fine in this top 10. Almost a top 10 perfect shootout here. As we see Matthias Lang, along with Tommy Hellstrom, being the only two cars yet to set a time in this current set. Lang's going to come through, and it's a 201.675. So towards the back end of the gold runnings. But I'm sure we'll see that change. Meanwhile, Lindblom comes up to the line. He's going to be a couple of tenths up. Can he make it a 59? He can make it a 59, all right. And it's a 0.857. So he's gone one step further. What a beautiful lap. And you can see it's all in that sector 2. Just carried that speed to perfection. Beautiful stuff. Looks like we've got Sean Julius, who's on the track once again. And I'm not sure that quite tracks, as at least according to my data we have right here, he's a bronze class entrant, meaning that he should be in the pits by now. Of course, we'll get clarification from the stewards in terms of what's going on there. It may be a case of there is just a display error, and he is in fact one of the cars who is running in gold, but I'm sure we'll get the confirmation on that in due time. So we need to see some improvement from GMR. This is what it rides on here. GMR needs to get that momentum of the first race, and he needs to keep it, take it, use it. As Lindblom is going to be going even faster somehow. He is currently a 10th up on his previous. He's stamping his mark of authority, as Grosges is actually going to be trading blows with him at the sharp end of the timing boards. He's got a 59.9 second car to do it. But he lost some significant time in Sector 1, so if he can nail this lap here and get that last parting shot, he could have a chance to take pole position. And we'll see, it all comes down to if Lindblom can land this lap together. Grosges is in fact going to get a little bit of slip on the rear axle, but that's actually played in his favour, as he's skirted his way through the S's and taken a beautiful run. He's going to be purple coming out into the dipper. This is a real battle for the ages here for pole position. Lindblom is going to get an improvement to a 0.6. So he's pushed that envelope even further, and he's decided that's all he's got in him. That's his time finished. And he's not going to be going for another attempt. He is going to have to just lay it all out on the table, believe in the heart of the cards. Can Grosges get it and bring it all together? That's the question, as he teeters on the edge of the purple fastest lap line. It's all going to come down to Murray's corner. He's currently purple, but he's just lost it again. Murray's is going to be the decider. Can he get the speed, the push out of the corner? It's going to be close, and it's just 13 milliseconds shy. Grosges, by the skin of his teeth, has missed that sacred mark of pole position, but he's not done yet. He's going to go again. He's back out on it, and he's not going to take no for an answer. He's going to take one last shot and hope he can get this done. See, the rest of the cars now coming through as well. Here's Lenatus going to be coming up to the line with 10 seconds of qualifying to go. So he is going to be the second car to finish after the checkered flag. Just behind, I believe that is Gayamar there. He's just crossed the line and he couldn't make an improvement. So 2:297 is the best he could muster. Lenatus pushes up into 7th. The rest of the field is going to start filtering through soon. As more cars come up to the line, here is going to be Sean O'Neill conceding his run, heading back into the pit lane. Is Patrick Larson. Can he get an improvement of his own here, as he's currently sat just barely improving, about a 2/10 of a second. Tends to fluctuate, but let's see if he can carry some improvement through into Murray's. He does get about a 10th up, but it's not going to be enough to give him a position. There's going to be Dave Marsh heading into the pits. Will we see the similar move coming from Chris Bourne? No, he stays committed. He's a couple of tenths up, which could give him the leg up and jump him ahead of Patrick Larson in the standings. Up to the line, and he's just shy. He's a quarter of a tenth away. He's not been able to hold it together. So can James Payton get an improvement of his own? I'll have to wait and see, and yes, he does. He leaps Chris Bourne and Patrick Larson both in the last moments. But eyes on this Ferrari. Grosges, he's on the purple once again. He's teetering on the edge of an improvement. Only needs half a tenth of a second. That's it. That's all he needs. So it all comes down to this. He's a 0.0 delta. He teeters on the 0.1. Can he get it together? He's going to get it. And he's going to have a 6.47. Grosquez, at the last moments of quali, gets pole position. I don't quite believe it, folks. A beautiful run to cap the session off. Wolfslander into 7th. And then a little bit... Oh, no. Big improvement coming from Matthias Lang. What a showing there. And what a show from our gold class cars, as well as bronze and silver. They've been really putting in the work. So nicely done there. Let's see what the rest of our field has in store for us, however, as Grosquez is going to take a sweep surprise pole position in first place out there. We have Lindblom coming in second place, and within just half a tenth of a second. And Guillemard is going to be fairly adrift. He's only been able to manage 6.5 tenths away from his Wolfpack teammate, currently in P1. And crucially, going to be a whole 6 tenths down to Lindblom, his main championship rival, heading into this race. So that's going to be a bit of a hill to overcome, and we'll see how he manages it. Ostrachaz is going to be taking and continuing his dominant form from race 1 with a pole position here in Mount Panorama. I keep getting those two mixed up. I keep saying Mount Bathurst. I've said it once, and I need to reset. But Ostrachaz is going to be in pole for the silver class, and that is going to be alongside Derek Hall, the number 14 McLaren, and Pedro Serrano in third place in that purple BMW. And then in bronze, it's going to go by quite a significant margin to John McIntosh in the 720 McLaren. And a whole 6 tenths of a second away is going to be Sean Julius. We haven't got any information or update currently about why he was on track during the gold class period. We'll hopefully get some information for you on that in due course. And then we have Stuart Holmes sitting in third place in the BMW number 2. So that's our qualifying order, ladies and gentlemen, and that is where we're in just a moment going to be getting ourselves started and set up for the race. There you go. That is going to be the field all set and ready to go. And just like that, everyone is finalizing their setups with their cars. So let's take a bit of a grand tour and see exactly where we want to be looking at. Take our grand run through. Maximilian Grosquez in the 134. 59.647. Beautiful run. Alongside David Lindblom in second place. Frederick Guillemard is going to be in third position, and then got a bit of a weird gap. So I think that's been a slight issue. Hopefully we get that resolved quickly. Scotty Herme is going to be in fifth place, with Björklund completing row 3. Row 4 is going to go to Peter Wolfslander, and that is going to be alongside Tommy Hellstrom, exactly a second behind the pole position time. And then Thomas Linatus is going to be in P9, along with Dave Marsh in the 27 NSX to complete your top 10. Moving a little bit further down is Colin McNair looking for a redemption round after last time. And then Matthias Lang in P12 to complete row 6. James Payton in 13th position. Patrick Larson in P14. And then going into the rest of our cars, as I say, we have Chris Bourne completing the order. And then Adam Ostrachaz, who's going to be our leader for silver. Pole position time for silver. So nicely done there. Johan Larson in 17th position alongside Sean O'Neill. And then completing row 10 is going to be Derek Hall in the McLaren. And then Pedro Serrano in 20th position. John Mitchell is going to be taking a bit of a change of skin, as he's in the 24 McLaren now, alongside the number 90 McLaren of Paul Murray. Simon Age is going to be in the Aston Martin for the number 25, alongside the orange Ferrari of Randy Zimmer. Robert Homer is going to be in P25 here, with the lead for bronze alongside, that's going to be John McIntosh in the 720. Ian Vasuri in the 992, and then following that with Rich Arscombe, Chris Wilson, and Alex North to complete your 30 positions. You can see the drivers on the map are starting to get moving, so we're about to get underway with that formation lap. Sean Julius alongside Stuart Holmes in 31st and 32nd place. 33rd is going to go to Craig Morrison, also in a BMW. alongside Craig Niesbet in the Mercedes AMG. Then you've got two Ferraris. It's going to be Wayne Bowler and Daniel Groich in the 123 and 431 cars. And David Smith in the McLaren alongside Roger Diesmekes in P38. Then it's going to be the Bentley of Frank Tennant closely alongside John Ades, and then behind him is going to be the other Smith on track, Peter Smith in the 113 and Ibrahim Diekman in 42nd place as they navigate a little bit of spacing issue with some of the other cars. Finally, there's going to be Aniel Theodson in the Porsche, Helge Olsen in the Lamborghini, and then finally Andy Trickett at the back of the field to finish, as he was unable to set a time and as a result will be placed at the back. So that's your grid order, ladies and gentlemen. And a reminder of how we do things down under, or in SimSeniors in general. We have ourselves a 1 hour race. We have a mandatory pit stop required to refuel. However, tyres are always an option. They are an available option for the drivers should they wish to pick it. And with that in mind, it becomes a strategic call whether they want to commit to that move or not. So we'll see how things shape out. So I know that Mount Panorama can be a little bit punishing for some cars around here, depending on your driving style. And I have just got word from the stewarding team that Sean Julius, it was not an error with the data. He was a bronze class car, and he was erroneously on the track during the 10 minutes gold class qualifying period. So I'm sure the stewards are going to be having a polite chat with him after the session today. You see, making our way out, down through the elbow, and everyone is trying to get just some heat into those tyres for that opening lap. You can see weaving up and down the order. And it's looking like a beautiful day today here in Australia. 28 degrees track surface temps and 22 ambient, so those tyres are going to be nice and tacky. Plenty of grip, plenty of mechanical grip on this course. Of course, with the speeds that some of these cars are going to be hitting, they should have no time sticking to the road, or no difficulty whatsoever. Haven't even got any winds to worry about. It's looking bright. It's looking sunny. Rosquez leads. Lindblom just behind. They're going to be getting down to double file in a short moment to allow all the cars to pack in together and get into correct formation. So you can see Grosges slowing down now to allow Lindblom to line up alongside. Everyone's going to get into their correct and respective positions, with the space being left for P4, as all drivers are required to stay in their mandatory positions regardless of if there is a gap present. You must stay in your designated position as if there was a car available. Rounding their way through Murray's corner. The track is about to go hot for the second round after the spicy opener that was Spa. Let's see what these drivers have in store. An hour of racing getting underway. The track is hot. And we are away. Let's do this. Let's see what these drivers have got. And jumping on board the helicopter to try and capture all the action. Immediately, Grosges got on the offensive and keeping Lindblom back. He knows the kind of competitor and the fierce fighter of a racer that he is. So he's going to be wasting no time or chances as there's pandemonium further down the order. And you can see everyone just rocketeering through and getting a little bit loosey-goosey with the track limits on that first corner. You can see a couple of cars who are trying it on a little bit, who are trying their best to really get a bit of a move on. Here's Björklund going for an attack on Lenatus as they just come up out of the quarry and into the cutting. He's going to see a late dive and holding a lot more speed than Lenatus there. I think Lenatus had to dive off and duck off of the throttle just for self-preservation, if nothing else. Björklund is going to be marooned a little bit, but he's going to have Lenatus behind him, and Lenatus is now on the defensive as McNair is going to be right there breathing down his neck all the same. Meanwhile, it says Arscombe and North are going to be really going for it, just coming out and into the parks. There's a lot of cars who are densely packed a little bit further down as more and more racers are trying to push as hard as they can. And oh, looks like there's a car into the wall. That's Tommy Hellstrom. You can see parked it on the wall at the edge of the circuit, and that is going to be immediately him going into the pits and a first casualty, as we do see multiple cars who were involved earlier in incidents. We'll get on the replay cam in order to try and recap. But there's a lot of situations that are about to unfold. I mean, look at Ostrachaz. He's got Derek Hall right on his tail. So his ideal situation, get Larson between him and the other McLaren. Then Matthias Lang is going to be going for a bit of a scent here. He's running aggressive. He's already gained 2 positions since the start of the race, and he's wanted to keep that upward momentum. Well executed here. So the Pixel Pilot's car is going to be having quite the time. It's going to be a good run here, as we're going to see him try and gain a little bit of distance. A little bit of distance is all that he needs right now. It looks like Grosges has got a little bit of a pocket as well, but McNair is trying to challenge. And he's looking at a big opportunity. We've got a lot of chances for drivers to pick up some sneaky points here and there and really turn around their fortunes from the first race. Looks like Hellstrom is going to be remaining in the pits, and I don't know if we're going to be able to see him emerge. So we see yellow flags coming out for a couple of cars. That's going to be for number 9 and 6. Looks like there might have been a convergence of a couple of race cars on the course. Although I don't see an actual... Oh, no, that was Robert Homer. You see Serrano is going to be dropping down. Been overtaken at this point in time by Robert Homer. And Ostrachaz is going to keep tight to the back of one of the gold class cars. Although, in this case, say Larson is less so focused on him and more looking to try and catch up to Chris Bourne. We have Lenatus as well, who is caught between a bit of a rock and a hard place. You can see him briefly darting out the slipstream of Björklund as he's kind of put against the wall a little bit. He doesn't really want to go for an attack onto Björklund because he can't leave himself open. McNair is right there, and we know McNair is quick to seize an opportunity if he sees it. We're going to see Chris Wilson, meanwhile, head into the pits as Pedro Serrano is going to be slapped with a yellow flag and a... Oh, a collision. That is not looking good. Let's try and rewind the clocks. Let's try and pinpoint exactly what happened. So this is going to be the replay for Serrano right now. Try and ID exactly what happened with his car, as we don't actually have any knowledge, and looks like things got a little bit dicey. And oh, Randy Zimmer was getting caught in the crossfire there, unfortunately. So Zimmer actually looks to be relatively okay. Doesn't look like he suffered too much damage, but that's certainly not going to be good for him. That's going to be a bit of a blemish on an otherwise good opening run. Patrick Larson trying to close in on Matthias Lang and James Payton, as Johan Larson has been having a bit of a torrid time. We wind the clocks back a bit, we can see that he's try as he might, he seems to be struggling a little bit here today. He's going through the S's, and it looks like he's just lost the car a little bit, slammed into the wall, and then slammed again. hopefully the damage is not too catastrophic, but given that he's in P19 and currently under pressure from silver class cars, no less, I hazard a guess that he might be in for a bit more trouble than first thought. Either way, it's a tight spot. Hopefully he can pull himself out. Murray and Vasuri making a tiny bit of contact by the looks of things, but they're drag racing each other down the start-finish line. You can see Vasuri is going to be squeezing him a little bit to the right side of the course, but still leaving him a car's width. So, certainly good showing of respect. Sean O'Neill is off the side of the course, and we have completely had a breakdown on his part. So let's take on board with the helicopter to try and get a better perspective. Looks like he is chasing down Derek Hall on this one. I say John Mitchell was behind, so looking to chase on Hall. A bit of a wobble, tiniest bit of contact between himself and Mitchell. It looks like that's all it took for him to go into the wall. Not even 10 minutes into the race, folks, and chaos inevitably struck. See Lenatus trying his best to close in and keep Björklund on the proximity, but looks like there's an opportunity there. Björklund goes into the wall and having a major casualty into the wall there. Looks like he's even crossing paths with some of the other cars in other groups. He's only going to be able to emerge in P13 at best. But that is him effectively out of that top fight. Lenatus has been handed P5 on a silver platter, but that doesn't mean by any means that anyone in this top 10 is getting a free pass. In fact, Lindblom has been relentless around these first couple of laps here as we're just about to complete lap 4. Rosges is certainly going to be feeling the pressure soon. See that NSX is right there hunting. And he's going to be feeling a little bit of an inclination to try and go for a move soon. He's been stuck behind for a good chunk. Derek Hall has gone into the wall out of Murray's corner and stacked it into the barriers. It's going to be demoting him all the way down to P6 in class, as Björklund is going to be heading into the pits after that incident at the S's. He could still turn his fortunes around if he does a bit of damage limitation and he goes for a really long second stint. I think that's the only way these drivers are going to be able to make it out. Hellstrom is out of the pits, I can confirm. So we do still have 44 cars on this course. See Murray getting a little bit of a knock. Oh, big knock as he slams into the wall there. Not exactly sure what happened. Looks like Derek Hall made contact with him. And Derek Hall has now completely stopped on the race surface. It looks like he has completely disappeared out of the picture. And we might have had our first retirement right there. Either way, let's wind back the clocks. Let's see exactly what's going on. So this is the onboard with Paul Murray. Makes a bit of contact. So makes a bit of contact there and say wobbles, loses a bit of time, and looks like he goes alongside with Derek Hall and absolutely tank slaps into the wall. Makes contact with Robert Homer as well. And that's all she wrote. So I have got confirm that Derek Hall has retired by the looks of things. It looks like we do have our first official retirement of the session. A bit of an iffy start. Hall was looking good. And meanwhile, looking a bit further up, looks like Lindblom and Grosges have really opened a pocket of the racetrack for themselves, as Guillemot is practically marooned in the middle. He's got 3.5 seconds to make up, nearly 4. Lindblom and Grosges just pushing each other to their very limits. Both of them consistently lapping in the 2-minute mark. In fact, Grosges just got his best time of a 2 minute .097 and fastest lap of the course so far. couple of other cars seeing to themselves that they can try and gain back following some of their losses. For instance, Larson trying to catch up to the rest of the field. Get himself alongside Patrick. We typically tend to see the other way around. We tend to see Johan Larson being the leading of those two. And then Patrick tends to be a bit further down in the mid to lower. But that hasn't quite played out. Even so, time is of the essence to get some early positions and get a little bit of a home base. Looks like if anyone has made a couple of gains, though, throughout all of this, it's going to be Andy Trickett. Remember, he started right at the back of the field, 44th position, as he did not set a qualifying time, but now he currently stands in 33rd. He's made a hefty amount of positions up, and oh, actually, that could be a little bit dicey. He's going to get contact second hand as Anil Thurdson is going to slap into him from the wall of the S's. Bit of rough innings for him there, but even so, still soldiering forward. So we'll see if Trickett can hold on to things as he's got past Thurdson now. And Lindblom is once again on the back of Grosges and showing no signs of yield. This is Lindblom's strategy, and this is one thing that Lindblom, I think, is quite good at. He's able to put down consistent pressure and run high lap times or low lap times without incurring too much personal risk. The riskiest he gets is when he starts getting into the slipstream of cars, and then he has to adjust for his braking distance. But you can see both of them darting through the S's like a ballet of rubber and asphalt. But Lindblom just staying tucked to the back of that Ferrari as much as he can. And even now, coming down the Conrad straight, he's still going to try and stay behind as Grosges tries to, not so subtly, break the toe of the NSX. Still going to be closing in just a little bit through the slipstream, but the gains of the slipstream, he loses through the corners. Dirty air and braking distance are going to be host to that one. Looks like we've had a major incident, though, as that's going to be Craig Niesbase facing backwards on the track. He's trying to get out of the way of the other cars as it barely avoids. I think that's one of the Mustangs. I believe that's Sean Julius, before trying to get himself spun back round and in good racing form as Trickett's going to be coming up hot. He's going to take to the escape road. He tries to resave jointly with the rest of the racers, and it's just not happened. It's going to be demoted all the way down into P35, which I believe is P12 of the bronze order, as John McIntosh has actually just held his own. He really has held his own and carved out his own gap to the rest of bronze. Significant chunk of time between those two cars, between Julius and McIntosh there. Quite heroic stuff. Soon to be up ahead of the order. Lindblom is really pushing hard now. See, he's keeping that commitment high all the way through the S's. And it's just trying to slowly chip away at the space between the Ferrari and the Honda. Who knows what will become of these two, but do have Morrison and Zimmer who are squabbling back and forth for position here. BMW versus the Ferrari right now. 15 minutes in. And things are looking fairly hot and spicy. Particularly gold. That's been where we've seen a lot of action. But it looks like silver and bronze are coming in to make sure that we don't come out feeling any disappointment. John Aid's going to drop back behind Diekman here as he come up through Griffin's Mount and through the parks. Smoothly does it. Running aggressive time. This could be pretty crucial. We'll see what this rest of the field does. As we've reached a bit of an impasse in a lot of ways. At this stage, a lot of drivers have done most of their fighting that they want to, and they're just trying to keep things fairly smooth and formulaic. Neil Thurston dropping back behind Diekman there, although Diekman is going to go slightly off into the grass. Thurston is taking a very narrow run through Murray's Corner, so not quite sure what the line was through there. A bit of a question mark placed on that. But we do have a couple of other cars who might be teeing up for positions. Daniel Groch chasing Holmes down now as we go up through cutting. That Ferrari just needs to keep an eye on its whereabouts, as it can be just as treacherous for the other drivers here. It looks like we have Nisbet continuing to suffer from issues once again. Here comes Adam McPhillamy Park and has a major issue with his car. In fact, we're going to wind back the clocks and make sure we capture that on the helicopter and see exactly what went wrong for the Mercedes AMG. So Creston over and say Salmon Park. And now into McPhillamy. Looks like he's going to be jumping on the brakes, getting out of the way of the likes of Zimmer and co. So that's why the yellow flag was triggered. It was no mistake. Just got out of the way of the other cars. The blue flag rules being observed. Of course, good sports that these drivers are. Ensuring things are preserved. Back up at the top, Lindblom still has never gone outside of half a second with this car. Is practically glued, sellotaped to the rear of this Ferrari. It doesn't seem like anything is going to be shaking the bogey that is this Honda. They're getting even closer very briefly as we head down into the S's now, and you can just sort of see the movements and how much these two are sticking together so aggressively closely. Down through the dipper. And a little bit better of an exit from the Ferrari here. But Lindblom's not going to be deterred. So just keeping in that slipstream, managing to negate most of the negative side effects. There is also the question of if we do see a bit of a strategic gain from Lindblom running in the wake of Grosges, because Grosges right now is the tip of the arrow, is the tip of the spear. And that's going to mean that Lindblom can maybe afford to push a little bit less. He can conserve a bit of fuel, conserve his tyres, but even just as much as a single lap more, which may pay very handsomely coming into the race. Come strategy and saving time on the pit stop, maybe. Lemonade going to be chasing John Mitchell down, as we do have a yellow flag coming out. That's going to be for Wayne Bowler, as he returns to the pit lane and is not going to be sticking around on the track surface at the very least. So here is going to be Bowler going into the sidewall and seemingly struggling with his steering quite majorly. Slamming into the walls multiple times, looking like that steering rack is going to be completely knackered. Completely knackering his steering, and he's going to be in there for at least a while. As you say that, Johnny, it's going to be backwards as we go through the S's, and they claim another victim. But the number 9 car just trying to find any chance that he'll be able to get back out, and it looks like he's just going to RTG in the end. Unfortunate to see, but maybe, and with a lot of these impacts, not too surprised, the damage is just too severe to risk the run back home. It will be tough as we head into this next crucial phase of the race. We're going to be coming up soon on the pit stop window, not to mention, folks. Now, a couple of drivers have already taken this. About 10 drivers of our current roster on the field have already taken their pit stops, and a lot more of them are going to be heading within the next 10 minutes. Usually, a lot of drivers will be in the optimal window of about 30 minutes, so roughly equal stints. Give or take a minute here and there to finish the lap. But that gives the most optimal strategy. And I will say it's a shame that we don't see more of that variation, as I would love to see multiple races converge across different positions, across different strategies. One driver goes in with just 10 minutes elapsed, and one driver goes in with 10 minutes to go. Almost emphasizing the importance of key strategic choices. Right now, everyone seems to be going within the same 5 to 10 minute window around the halfway mark. But with the limited hour races that we have, that is sometimes the natural order of things, and that is the optimal strategic call. Can't argue with performance. CE continuing to put pressure down on John Mitchell. He's trying his best to catch up at present, and many other cars are trying to size up and do the same. Crucially, Liam Blom has actually dropped a good chunk of time. But Carrasquez has now grown his gap to an entire second, and he's not in the clear yet, not by any stretch of the imagination. He's still very much in danger, as that gap can be just as quickly lost again. However, it does give him a bit of insurance, and particularly protection against the slipstream. The slipstream will be less effective at that distance, and that might be the Achilles heel that kills Liam Blom's challenge for the lead of the race here, unless he can get it back on strategic grounds. But looks like a solid exit out of the Dipper might be able to recover some of that lost time. He's still teetering around that second mark, but he's not exactly losing time, is he? All about who's the first to crack at this point. Di Serrano coming up on the back end. Oh no! That's going to be Julius not only losing the car, but collecting Serrano in the process. Looking like that car's seen better days for sure, as Sean is going to be hitting the wall once again coming out of that. And wait a second, are they beached? And oh no, they're collecting another car! It collected the 213. That's Craig Morrison there. They reversed into the path of the BMW as they took to the escape road. Oh, that's not looking good. That's not looking good at all, folks. Things could be looking a little glum, as Morrison has taken a brunt of that force and might be forced to return to the garage. Julius has already done just that. And yeah, Morrison has to return to the garage as a result of that incident. That's a brutal way to end your first stint. And hopefully this is a chance for Morrison to get back into things, but for Julius, he's already taken a pit stop, so it's not going to be looking good. Wayne Bowler has been in the pits for nearly 5 minutes now. So I think that this could be a dangerous sign, although it could very easily be wrong. Liam Blom now losing the gap to 1.7 seconds at the lead of the race. He is starting to lose a little bit of his edge here. I think so many laps of pushing and trying to remain so close to the back has done a bit of a number on him. I think they have done a little bit of a number on his attacking and strategy right here. Looks like we've got a couple of yellow flags though, as that's going to be Stuart Holmes completely round the wrong way at the pit entry point. So let's jump on the helicopter. Let's see exactly what happened. So this is going to be Holmes. Makes his way through Murray's corner. Looks like that is going to be one of the grey Ferraris. I think that's Groich. And the two of them are going to be running close together. It looks like contact between himself and the Ferrari. And, yep, that is unfortunately all she wrote. And, actually, it looks like there might have been a compound incident there, as one of the Smiths looked like they were about to go into him. And we'll review that in a moment. But McNair is challenging for the top 5 once again. Now, we're looking at about 2 more laps until most drivers are going to be in the pits. That is going to be your optimal changeover window. Chris Bourne's going to be looking to do much of the same, except against James Payton. As the infighting in gold is going to be right there, front and centre, and fun for all to see. McNair is going to be really hunting around and challenging on Lenatus. You could see he poked to the left and then poked to the right as they go both through Quarry, making their way up the hill now. And we have another incident. This is going to be this time for the 157 car. That's Adil Thirdson, and he's parked perpendicular to the track. This could get dicey, and oh no! That's Alex North collecting the front end of the Porsche as they come together. And that is going to be very harsh for North as he's taken a significant chunk of damage. There'll be sad times for the Aston runner as Groich now is going to be heading into the pits. He's going to be making his way through and hopefully not going to be having any kind of issues. There's going to be Anil Thurston returning to the pit lane, and we are down to 42 drivers at this stage, ladies and gentlemen. So we have seen a couple of retirements by this point. I think we just saw our second. We'll see Trickett yield to some other cars, as that's going to be Simon Eade on the chase of John Mitchell. Mitchell trying to get the best line he can, and in fact trying to go a little bit defensive here, as you can see. So Zimmer's going to be out of the pits, Homer and Groich is going to hopefully be soon out of there as well. As multiple cars are all looking for a bit of safety, given the current chaos that has unfolded on track. Lindblom and Lenatus are both headed into the pits, so this is going to be a precarious time for Grosges to be on track. He's committed out to 1 lap more, and Lindblom has gone a little bit earlier. Now, this could be either a big strategic opening for Lindblom, or this could be a concession to P2. Either way, pressure is high. John Mitchell is going to be yielding back to Pedro Serrano. The racers are going to be coming out in due time from the pit lane. See, Lenatus is right up at the sharp end of the pit entry and exit, and we should see him come out any minute now, any second now. That Nismo will get back on its wheels, and there you go. You can see right there that is going to be a near optimal pit stop. He's just a few seconds shy. About a minute and 2 seconds. So Lindblom is back on the track. He took a minute pit stop. And looking at some of the times, if we do a little bit of maths and hopefully get them accurate, rounding notwithstanding, it's looking like this could be a bit dicey, as Grosges might not have the full space that he needs to get his lap lead back. Stay in that power position. Either way, he's going to be into the pits now, alongside Guillemard and most likely a good chunk of other cars. There's going to be Robert Homer heading in just ahead. There's going to be Wolfslander staying out, so that's going to be himself and Colin McNair inheriting most likely first and second of the race. Oskari Hermé going to be heading in, and many more cars going to follow suit. Dave Marsh is staying out. Matthias Lang is going to be heading in, along with Patrick Larson, and Chris Bourne is going to stay out of there. Ostrachars, however, leader of Silver, is going to go in, and we have yet to see as well if the leader of Bronze is going to stay out or head in this lap also. A lot of chopping and changing as multiple gold class cars are going to head into the pits, as well as a couple of silvers here and there. Here's Hiro Fasuri heading into the pit. And we'll see, is McIntosh going to be coming out? No, he is going to be staying on the track. Going to get a healthy dosage of positions, but these are Pyrrhic victories in the end. Most importantly, though, Grosges is out of the pits and actually got a slightly faster pit stop than Lindblom. So his gap has not only been preserved, but it has been improved. And this is going to mean Grosges is now going to be on a lap less in terms of weight, in terms of tyre wear. And this is beautiful, crucial stuff. Tennant's going to be heading in with Visuri, Ostrachar, Simonade as well. And with that, most, if not all of the field are now going to have taken a pit stop. 8 drivers are the outliers here. Only 8 drivers have yet to take a stop out of the 42 that remain on this race course. We'll see if anyone has any more fight in store. Triquette's going to be yielding to yet more cars. As we do see him now this time let go past. Is going to be Paul Murray. No, Paul Murray in the side of the course, in the wall. And that's going to be a classic case of just losing the rear end. Nothing too spectacular to write home about, but he's trying to get the car rotated. Bit of bumping on the walls just to help him spin around. And with that is going to be a quick smooth run. We'll see how this plays out for our racers in due course. So last couple of cars who have yet to pit in are now going to be doing exactly that. Peter Wolfsteiner just coming out of the pits now, as we have McIntosh, Bourne, Mitchell and Arscombe all going in. Ibrahim Dickman is going to be heading into the pits as well, most likely, as he's just going to be coming out of the chase. He's going to be following behind Visuri and Johan Larsson, but he's going to have to recognise his strategic requirements, and he's going to, yes, as predicted, head into the pits. We'll also see McNair, albeit holding on to the lead for a little bit of time. He is going to have to yield it. And alongside Dave Marsh, they're both going to be heading in just a moment, most likely. Lindblom, though, has gained back a good chunk of the time that he previously lost to Grosges. And with 25 minutes to go, things could be looking to flip before we know it. And we'll see how these racers are going to size this one up, as we do see a massive gap growing and then shrinking and then growing again. It's going to be quite the ebb and flow. As we'll have more and more racers maybe start to get a little bit desperate, in truth. They're going to be looking for some chances, they're going to be looking for some moves, and we'll see just exactly how that manifests before long. Here we can see this is Patrick Larsson trying to get past one of these Smiths. So darting around in a fairly quick fashion, and oh no, John McIntosh! McIntosh is sideways in the S's. This could get very nasty indeed. Luckily, just managing to dart around the way in time, but this is going to put him right in the crosshairs before long of Dismukes. especially if he had to head into the pits after that one. How's his damage looking? He's looking a little bit worse for wear. It's looking like that front bumper is rattling and barely holding on for dear life. So we'll see, hopefully, that he gets a chance to recover. But he's got a bit of damage, and that is going to be brutal to deal with. Homer is going to get past Stuart Holmes. And we'll see a little bit of back and forth as Nisbet is going to be dropping back a good chunk. Stuart Holmes as well is going to drop it back behind Nisbet. Then McNair is going to be soon coming out. So looks like there's a bit of bumping, bit of roughing, as Linatas kind of gets stuck with Hermé in his rear view mirror, trying to just chomp at any kind of advantage he may have. Tyus Lang now 8th position, having gained a good chunk since the start of the race. See a couple more cars, and oh no, Patrick Larson has just headed into the pits, and seemingly out of nowhere too, but let's exactly find out what happened here. So first off, making his way up through Griffin's Mount. This is coming out of turn 6 here, and just impacting the wall, and oh, almighty tank slapper out of turn 7. And that is unfortunately all she wrote for the Ferrari right there. So Patrick Larson is going to be out of this session. And with that, we are down to 41 cars, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be a tough one, and especially relatively close to the end too. That's pretty painful. Let's see what these racers have to show us as we get to our final 20 minutes soon. There's surely going to be some tricks up in the sleeves of these racers. Hermé in particular, he saw the move for Linatas to try and get P5, and now it looks like we have ourselves a challenge for the P5 from Hermé. Going to be a really tough 20 minutes if you're going to play it fast and loose. Still got to be considerate. Still got to be quite considerate of your car. The last thing you want to do is get overexcited, get overzealous, and just like that you are out in the wall and game over. You can see them trying to navigate around . Looks like Lindblom is actually dropping down time again. He had previously gained back a good chunk, but unfortunately for him, time was lost just as quickly as it was gained. And I've got to say, he's got his work cut out for him, because Groka's looking near untouchable. Lindblom is going to get 2 second place finishes in a row at this stage. And at the very least, he's going to be ahead of his main championship rival in Guillemot. But this is still going to be tough for him. Now, unfortunately as well, another driver who's been struck with bad fortunes is Adam Ostrashaz. He's was for so long of this race running up ahead, running in the clean, but he now currently stands right down at the bottom as he took an extra 40 seconds in the pit lane compared to his rivals, and that has completely nuked any kind of hope that he had of pushing forward. So right now he is currently in 8th place in silver, and he's not having a good time of it. I feel like he's going to be working to try and gain some time back, but it's going to be a hard-fought one. It'll be hard-fought for sure. It's going to be a similar deal for John McIntosh. However, he's still ahead. He has lost a little bit of time, and Dismukes has dropped down quite significantly. So that's going to be a little bit of a sort of mulligan in his favour. But it's still by no means letting him off the hook. Got 40 seconds between himself and Diekman in 2nd place. One misstep and it's game over. Considering the damage he already has, any kind of missteps is going to be very problematic. Meanwhile, looks like David Smith has seen better days. You just saw him being passed by Colin McNair, but even so, it's really not looking like a good time. Meanwhile, we have got yellow flags coming out for Stuart Holmes. Let's see exactly what happens here with this BMW. Goes into the S's and seemingly losing steering capability. So trying to stay out of the way of the likes of Asuri, you can see parked up, and he's just returned to the pits. One can only speculate on the reasoning behind that one. Certainly doesn't look like a, we'll call it natural exit. Looks like there have been maybe a prior factor or just something going wrong to instigate exit in that manner. See if anyone else has got a chance to make some moves upwards. There we are, 15 minutes away from the end. And oh, we come in just as Hermé barely saves the car. Wow! That was quite the save. I gotta say, that was quite the save. That is ridiculously close to the wall, and I'm very impressed. I'm really struggling to find the words, but no, I am very impressed with that move. Keeps it out of trouble. Robert Homer, Roger Dismukes, they are going to drag race down here. And meanwhile, the rest of the field has largely spaced themselves out in a good way. Most drivers have got at least 2 seconds between each other. There's a couple of them that are within that range, as dictated by the yellow. However, even looking beyond that, this is where drivers will now just be looking to bring it to the end and keep things smooth. Volatility is the bane of any good racer. You're gonna have to work to keep it nice and smooth and keep it to the end. Soon the drivers will be able to taste that checkered flag and feel that they're in the best spot they could ever be. But Robert Homer is returning to the pit lane for an unknown reason at this point in time. We have gone back to the 40 car count, 40 car mark. We have had another retiree. Like we'll be getting a bit of question mark around if we're going to continue, as the stream has had a bit of an issue. Hopefully we're back online. Apologies for anyone who say experienced the drop in the stream there, but we should be good. I had a couple of internet warnings in the background. Hopefully that quick restart has fixed things and stabilized things out on the back end. So looking at Lindblom as we get closer to our concluding laps, and Lindblom has stayed within 2 seconds to his credit, but he hasn't really been able to gain time in the way that I think that he's hoped at this point. He's massively gained time on Guillemard. The Guillemard is, I think, firmly locked in P3 unless there is a minor catastrophe for this NSX. And Lindblom is going to be trying his best to close in time to Maximilian Grosges. He was a second and a half faster on his previous lap. He did get this actually his fastest lap on the circuit last lap out. I wonder if we keep this trend up, although Matthias Lang is going to be sprinkling a bit of carbon in the S's as he's made impact with the wall and dropped down a good chunk of time. Colin McNair was able to get past throughout all of that. And this might open floodgates for a couple of other cars to start mobilising and really taking their moves. Case in point, Simon Aid right on the back right now of Johan Larsson. And oh, big snap and big wall impact. That's one, that's two, that's ping pong, pinball. McLaren in the wall. Luckily, he takes to the escape road and keeps it out of trouble for the other cars. But a brutal ending to a race campaign there. The last thing you want to be seeing 10 minutes before the end. Dave McNair's trying to close in a little bit more, but is not having much of any luck. Craig Niesbet's managed to get past Andy Trickett coming down the Conrad Straight and lock the move in through the chase. So a clean and nicely executed move there. Wayne Bowler is into the pits once again, as we do have a few more cars who have gone in there. And Robert Homer is emerging after his third pit stop. Emerged from the pit lane and is seemingly intent on finishing this race. There we go, so Trickett trying to get the move back on Niesbet right now. Trying to close back in. Soon we'll be seeing the racers come to the end of this one. And apologies if things have slowed down a little bit towards the end, but such is the natural course of many of these races. We have a lot of the action, the drama at the start, and then drivers try to find their footing and find a little bit of their rhythm. But by the end, most of them have been pocketed and have largely found their own space at the track that they get to call home until the checkered flag falls. So we'll be seeing about 4 more laps here, which means that we are going to finish on lap 29. 29 laps completed. We'll have to see. So it's within discrepancy at this point, as Grosgas is going to come down the Conrad Straight for the 26th time tonight. Liam Blom just looming over the hill, but he's just almost 3 seconds away. So we might see a bit of a break for Grosges, and if he can keep this pace up, I have no problem taking that checkered flag. Looks like the Wolfpack team is really up to their game in some regards this season. I think the diversification of cars has been a great choice in their favour. Having everyone on the Mustang last season, it was fine for helping a bit of team synergy, I'm sure, but that also homogenised things a lot. It didn't really give drivers a chance to find and settle into their own driving styles. And if everyone's on the same car within the team, then that does create some limitations. You don't really get that flexibility and that almost wild card potential that we're seeing right now. And Grosges is really dropping the hammer here and bringing a spicy new dynamic to this race that I don't know if we would have seen to the same extent if everyone was Mustangs. In fact, it looks like the Mustang is struggling here, given Guillemar's current performance 20 seconds away from the leader. Mitchell trying to get past Hiro. Trying to find a little bit of an opening. Simon Age is actually going to be in the top space. And Mitchell's managing to get past. Second position here for the McLaren. Simon Age's not far up the road, so this silver fight could be looking interesting and pretty spicy. McIntosh has lost the gap between himself and the other bronze car of Diekman, but there is still about 50 seconds between the two, so they will most likely be fine. Mitchell could be chasing down on Aid soon, but looking like things have not gone well for Johan Larsson. He's running very slow down the Conrad Straight. He's seemingly limping the car. There you go, gets on the power now, gets up to 260 kilometers per hour, but what happened there? They're running exorbitantly slow. We'll see Wilson go for a challenge on Alex North, maybe. Aston v Aston. Heart to heart, Aston to Aston. Let's see which driver is the faster. Alex North is going to be leading. So far, taking a little bit of gap, a little bit of delta with every passing corner. Wilson chasing north as much as one can, but I think he's got bigger problems as there's a BMW right there. Really running close, and he's going to be alongside, but I don't know if he's going to commit all the way to the apex. It'll be certainly a dicey move if he does do so. I think wiser choice to actually yield back and not necessarily contest it. The next couple of laps are final. And we will be seeing Grosges come across the line. So it looks like we will be seeing 30 completed laps after all, as he's just completed lap 28 and he's starting number 29. Chris Bourne also going for a bit of a challenge. Matthias Lang is going to be up ahead of him, P9. Grosges, Aid, McIntosh. That's going to be a big old question mark. Oh no, John Mitchell and oh no, Vissuri colliding majorly with the front of Mitchell and slamming into the wall as a result. That's a really horrible place to stop. Mitchell is going to be spreading his car even further around the track as he's trying to turn around, but there's no real opportunity to. In the end, he's just going to return to the pit lane. But nightmare scenario, nightmare up and down the track. Things have gone horribly wrong, and in fact we need to investigate that even further as we go further down the chain of command. So let's see exactly what went on. First off, of course, we saw the casualty a bit further away. This is going to be Wilson's perspective, so it's going to be Osterschars coming through. Iro is alongside, there's Smith, there's going to be multiple contacts of cars, and in the end Chris Wilson is going to have his hood slammed open. Brutal impact, brutal contact. And he can't even go into the pits because it's too late now. The leader is on the final lap. Well, the leader is going to be on the final lap after this one. But notice how the gap has shrunk significantly with Lindblom to Grosges. I think it's almost as if a trigger has been pulled in his mind. As if to say that you need to get moving, and you need to get moving now. The race control, albeit calling it somewhat prematurely, did say that the leader is on the final lap. They will have 30 laps completed, and Grosges is going to be the car to watch, but he's not going to have an easy time, because not only has he got Lindblom behind him, but he's also coming up on traffic. You can see there's Osterschars on the right, who's going to be yielding for the faster cars. Will we see that same courtesy extended? Chris Wilson out on the track. So he's still committed, but he's not really going to be having a good time as he's limping that car home. The checkered flag has officially fallen, as we do see there is John Aid dropping down significantly as he's spun around, and is going to return to the pit lane as well in the last moments of the race, no less. So with 5 cars in the pit lane and the checkered flag about to fall, it all comes down to this last mad dash through the S's, and Lindblom, he needs to strike. If he wants to do this, this is his time, and barely avoiding the Porsche on the exit of the dipper, but this is going to be close for sure. Lindblom is going to be putting, no doubt, everything into this last sector of the circuit. They come down the Conrad Straight. You can see he's firmly tucked in to the slipstream. He needs to exercise every kilometre an hour he can muster out of that NSX. He peeks to the left, tries to get a little bit closer on the brakes. It's very, very close. And through the chase, Grosges leads, but is it going to be enough as he goes through the final corner into Murray's corner? Can he hold on to that lead? Looks like he can, and he's going to be able to take it. Maximilian Grosges, congratulations. You've taken the checkered flag. You're taking the win at Bathurst. Mount Panorama is yours. with Lindblom very close behind in second and putting up a really good fight. That was a brilliant showing from the NSX as well, both of them fighting hard and well as Frederick Guillemot completes the podium for gold and is going to be, albeit 18 seconds adrift, still securing a good position and good points to keep himself in that championship. Looking a little bit further down the order and down the field, it's going to be the leader of silver. This one's going to go to Simon Aid, but we'll check back in with him as he's still got a majority of the track distance to cover. Looking at the bronze class cars, this is going to be John McIntosh all the way. Had a brilliant qualifying, had a brilliant first half of the race. Unfortunately, a couple of mistakes marred his chance for outright full dominance, but it was still over 55 seconds clear of second place, which is going to be Ibrahim Diekman, who had quite the recovery, I have to say. A really good recovery from seemingly a dire start to today's session. He was able to really push and give it everything, and his resilience was rewarded, as Daniel Grurch is going to be in third place in his Ferrari, and certainly going to have something to smile about back at the team. Going through the rest of the field now, as it's going to be last cars now coming through the start-finish line. It's going to be Simon Aid coming up and taking the checkered flag for silver finally. So last class 2 across the line, but second fastest overall. Simon Aid is going to be our winner for the silvers, and that's going to be complemented by Randy Zimmer. Despite some poor luck, he's still going to make it happen and make it work here. Second place for him, alongside Rich Arscombe in third place, and the last cars should be coming across the line now. Last 2, and we should, in theory, be going to our track screen, but we'll keep things simple for now. But that is where we are going to do it for today, folks. And that is where we are going to say goodbye for the time being. Now, it has been an absolute pleasure, as always, to bring the broadcast to you here today. And this is where we part ways. But before we do, let's talk about the next track on our docket, the next track on our list. And it is going to be none other than the beautiful Misano. Not Misano, Imola. That's next week, or week after next. So Imola is next week, then followed by Misano in a Italian double header. So you definitely don't want to miss that, folks, because that's where things are going to get mighty spicy. We have quite the quick track. It's not quite Temple of Speed, but it is going to be a facsimile of such, as we do have a few technical sections interspersed with some areas where you can get some real speed, particularly heading into that first chicane. And then Misano, love or hate it, it is a track that is synonymous with a few SimSeniors racing seasons in the past, but this is where we're going to do it, folks. Take care as always. Hope you have a brilliant night. Hope you've enjoyed, and if you have, consider liking the stream as well as subscribing if you haven't already. You can join our Facebook group. You can join us on the Discord after you've done that if you want to get involved. And for now, folks, this is good night. Take care as always, and goodbye.